painting with a Fairy Chic chalk paint, a canvas board, and using the paint and water technique to make it more as a watercolor effect on the board. I'm taking wet wipes to blend in the paint and water. And as you can see, I'm doing a bit of highlighting the edges and of the board and the table. For the background, I was using a Benocen yellow color. Again, a bit darker from the next to the table and getting lighter to the edges around the board. It's very light and I'm trying to make it as antique looking, like muddy yellow. So I'm mixing a little bit with grey color. And I'm using quite dry brush actually, even though, and using the wet wipe to clear it and the strokes of the paint. And the area where I'm gonna make our flower vase, I'm just clearing out a bit with the wet wipe also, as you can see here. Now I'm taking the small brush and using gray color, drawing outline of the vase. The vase, I'll try to make it as a see-through glass vase. So what I'm doing now, I'm highlighting the sides of the vase with a bit of a darker gray paint. However, at the end, I'm started to blend in the middle using wet wipe. So now I'm decided to use a little bit of like gray green color and using where the water will be, so it's right in the middle of the vase. And as you can see, again, I'm like tapping with the wet wipe, and as you know, like we can see the here that I'm showing that the other side of the vase, so we need to show the spheres. That is a round vase, and where the water is. And again, on the top of the vase, we're gonna do the same, following the same size oval shapes. So it is just important that the chalk paint and water is really nice to work, because it looks like a watercolor, but you can control quite well and easily the paint. So here we go, we are doing some highlights here. It's really nice and easy picture to make. And as you can see, even fingers were used to a bit it's always nice a bit to do the shadow where on the table where the vase is standing. So here I'm putting the shadow. We're using the gray color again, a bit mixing with green, and again fading in with the wet wipe. I'm checking if is it wet or dry. If I touch it with your hand and like you're not smudging, so that means it's quite dry. And I'm gonna go around now with the masking tape where I would like to, the reason why is that I'm going to use the IOD stamp, the cracking stamp, to show that it's a bit of like old vase that is a bit, the glaze is like cracked a little bit. So to do that, I need to kind of masking tape around that, the cracking that is gonna go around would not go on the background. I wanted to keep it just for on the vase. So I'm going now around the masking tape around the vase, and after that you'll see I'm using the IOD ink pad, dabbing around with IOD ink on the stamp. So when the sides are protected, this is the IOD stamp, crack stamp, which is really amazing for any projects on the furniture or anywhere you would like to use this effect of the old cracked paint. Going around like, random places of the vase to be cracked. And as you can see, I'm just using a bit of pressure with my fingers to make this stamp work. Again, very good to have a wet wipes to clean the stamp straight away and to keep for other projects. So as you can see close up of the cracks, it looks really good. So on top of it, I decided to do like a little like a decoration for the vase, as a looking like a small stamp. So I was using IOD, one of the small stamps for this part. So I'm using the green color to just to color in like a small circle. The chalk paint dries very quickly, so it is good. Just I waited for a couple minutes and just to check if it's dried, just like and where the stamp will go. I just stamped it and checked, and it looked all fine. So by touching with the finger, I can see that this is already dried. So I used the stamp pad, the ink pad, and I inked the stamp and I stamped it on the green circle. It's really so amazing to use these tools, as it helps you to be creative and do a precise and detailed work, and it looks really unique and beautiful. So I was just using a little bit of paint to do that, just to highlight a bit of the edges. And make sure like it looks round and neat. As you can see, I'm using wet wipes and to clear a bit of the space around, to make sure that it's kind of like stands out. If you see that you cleared a bit more than you should be, you can always use again a bit of paint on top with water. It is nice that this project anyone can do it, even like if you are a beginner of the painting. It's just because it's always nice to know that whatever, if you do like a mistake or any need to be adjusted, you can always use a wet wipes to clear it out and paint on top again. I thought I will do just a little shading around with the black ink paint. It's up to you if you want to do this or not, but I just decided for this project it will look good. So there is my vase, and now I'm taking off the masking tape around that I was keeping it for protecting from the background. As you can see, it looks like a little bit needed a bit more shade on the table. So later on I did a bit darken the shade. Now I'm using IOD transfers, which I chosen from leftovers from one of my transfers I used for another project. And these green leaves I just rubbed in to the transfer. They're looking very nice and unique, and it's a quicker way of doing decoupage like effect. With decoupage you would use a tissue paper, cut it out and stick it with or matte finish, Fairy Chic matte finish glue, varnish, or you could use Mod Podge glue. For the stamps, as you can see, I wanted to show that they are inside the vase, so I had it to kind of like cut and play around with to match them going in the right direction. After putting the transfers, I again used the new IOD stamps of the roses and mixed the colors of Fairy Chic paint and on this plastic board, and using the roller I just equally made the paint nice and thin layer, and then I stamped the roses on top. I had a visitor coming in when I was doing this project, so you can see me a little bit interactive and talking, chatting with one of our local artists, but I was just continue doing my stamping also. So as you can see, I was stamping a bit of like different branches and pink roses. So when I stamp the pink roses, it's kind of like I always like to add a bit of my personal touch, and I use the brush and then I was highlighting with darker pink and red colors the actual roses, and using water spray bottle. I was spraying at the time when the paint was still wet, and this makes the beautiful effect of runny watery paint. This is Yava B from Be Creative Art Hub. Thank you for watching and see you soon. If you like our videos, please subscribe and like our channel.